Well, hello, hello, hello. How are you today, Mr. Adam?
I am very well, Mr. Bennis. How are you this morning? Thank you so
You
much for
know,
having me on. I'm super
hey, I'm
excited to
glad to
be
do it.
here.
John is out and about traveling. He's, uh, you know, uh, fortunately staying in his car, so he won't ever be dealing with any people. So no need to quarantine or any of that good stuff. But he's out of the office today. So it is you and it is me, and it is we call the Foodie Friday. So all things food related.
Sure,
Uh,
I love it.
and I wanted to get us kicked right off if we could. You actually, I helped with it, but you kind of did a lot of the heavy lifting on it. A really, I'd say, interesting and in some places devastating look into the culinary scene here in Cleveland on a web series called Crushed Culinary. Why don't you talk about that a little bit, what that was like and what you discovered?
Sure, absolutely. By the way, too, I don't know if I'm much of a substitute for John's absence. If any, if I'm being real, I'm a poor substitute, but I'll
Oh,
do
you're
my
fine.
best. I'll do my best. Yeah, so that was basically a project. Obviously, you, myself, and John everyone had heavy hands in putting that project together. But for my end of it, that was really just something where I'm at home. I'm looking at things. I'm working on this podcast. I'm talking to restaurant owners and operators and people in management and things like that. And I'm just saying, okay, well, what else can I do to try to show some support? What else can I do to try to help? What else can I do to try to push some exposure and build some more awareness of the weight of the problems that these people are looking at, right? Because we both know it's huge. I mean, it's huge and it's not going away anytime soon, and affects a lot of people in a lot of parts of that organization. It's not just the restaurant owners that are getting crushed right now. Pun intended, by the way. So that's when it came together of, let's start talking to some Cleveland chefs. Let's see who's willing to talk to us and tell us about what kind of things they're going through in terms of staffing challenges, having to let people go, being able to bring them back, what that process looks like, safely feeding guests, running into any kind of protocol challenges there too. Because, it's like, change everything about the way that you're doing it and do it in 2 weeks and make sure that somehow you still got enough money to keep the lights on too, right? So it's been a really, really good project. We've got some awesome support from several different Cleveland chefs around, people that have been in the business here for a really long time, people that collectively employ, probably anywhere between 4,000 and 5,000 people within that group, or at least did at one time. And so there's been some really great insight, hard, chocked full of hard pills to swallow too, but some really great insights and really good perspective about what kind of problems they're facing and how they've received relief.
What was your biggest takeaway from this? I mean, I know everyone has a unique story, but
Yeah.
if there was a common theme or a big takeaway you got from all these, what do you think it was?
To me, the biggest thing, every single person that we talked to, whether I did audio with them or we did video with them, every single person you talked to, you asked them the first and biggest concern. And this will get you in the feels a little bit if I'm being real about it, but
Yeah.
they all say staff. They all say the well-being of my staff, and not just the safety of my staff too, because, for anyone that's ever worked in the restaurant industry, you're not sitting on a ton of cash, whether you're the owner or the dishwasher. You're not sitting on a ton of cash. It's not much above check living. And so, to see the awareness of the people in the ownership level, because you think intuitively they automatically go to shoot, how do I sorry.
Yeah.
How do I continue to, what's going to happen to my business? What's going to happen to me? Am I going to die? Like, is my restaurant going to die right now? Is that what I'm literally watching? None of them said that as their first concern. every last one said, what's going to happen to my staff? And that was the biggest thing to me.
Now, I know you've been releasing these on a weekly basis, I believe.
Yeah.
And if people want to watch them, because if you've not seen them at all, there's multiple. You interviewed a bunch of different chefs.
Yep.
You broke it up into different segments, of course. So if someone wants to go back and watch these, how would they do that?
So you can go over to the YouTube channel that I have, which is 86 Attrition. Alongside of this footage as well, I'm kind of just looking to gather different things about leadership knowledge and some other kind of professional development related stuff within the hospitality and restaurant industry. But the YouTube channel is 86 Attrition. So that's the word 80, the number 6, and the word attrition. Additionally, you can check out the Facebook page for the podcast, which is facebook.com/the numbers 86 and then the word dialogue.
Now, let's kind of follow this up too, because I know that you have, it's been several weeks since these interviews happened. And one of the biggest, if you will, developments we're looking at ongoing now is going to be dealing with one of the questions you've asked, being, okay, well, everyone went to the outdoor dining part of it to help get through the first part of this, which was fine in the summer. But as you know from the weather forecast and just how Ohio is, that's not going to last. And there's locations across the country where that's going to ring true as well. And outdoor dining is not going to be as simple. And that's one of the things you're following up with these chefs on. So you actually plan on doing some follow-up with them. Kind of talk about that.
Sure. So right now I'm in the process of putting together a round table discussion that will be very similar to this. Will likely take place on Facebook Live, and then we'll probably publish the recorded version of that on that same YouTube channel. But really, at this point, I'm just wanting to see what kind of pivots they've come up with to continue to support their business. Anything in the way of challenges that they're still dealing with now. Have they gotten themselves back to a place where they're able to bring back the staff that are comfortable continuing to work in that environment? Just get some general updates, particularly, as you say, as we start to approach winter and, it gets tough to keep everybody on the patio, if not impossible. Even for Clevelanders who are not scared to eat outside.
Exactly. You know what? Give me a heater and I'm fine.
Right.
We have a little less than 2 minutes left in the show today. Wanted to have you, obviously your background, you're a chef. You've worked here in Cleveland, worked in North Carolina, but you've actually dined and tasted food all across the country. So I've asked you to kind of narrow down 3 different hot spots, if you will, areas that you think that our viewers should go to if they're ever have an opportunity to. So let's talk about this. I'm going to bring them up right now on the screen. Why don't you talk about those? Sure.
And I'll make it the quick version too, try not to get too long-winded. The first one I want to start with is actually at the bottom of the list. This is one of the chef owners that I had an opportunity to talk with during the Crush Culinary series. His episode releases next week. His name is Eric Williams. One of his restaurants is Momocho, and Momocho is actually a place that I was familiar with well before relocating to Cleveland. Really, really cool, fun Mod Mex cuisine. He's got 2 locations too, so Momocho is a little bit tight. If they're booked up solid and you have trouble getting in the door, you can head over to El Carnicero in Lakewood. Both places, fantastic cuisine. It sounds a little weird. I highly recommend the beef tongue pastrami. Even if it sounds strange to you, give it a try. You won't be disappointed. Secondly, we're going to go a little bit further south with a place called Succotash, which is they have a location in DC and in Maryland. These 2 are run by a chef named Edward Lee. Edward Lee's got a really fun approach to cooking where he takes his Korean background and his Korean upbringing and intertwines that with Southern cooking. And what you get is just really fun, approachable, interesting flavor combinations that work a lot better than you might think they would if you've never tried it. Great, great food. The last one, I'm actually going to take it back to my home state of Georgia, and a guy that's been just making fantastic food down there for probably about 20 years. His restaurant in Atlanta, Empire State South. Hugh Atchison is the chef's name, by the way. His restaurant in Atlanta, Empire State South. Again, really fun, approachable food, a little bit French inspired, mostly Southern inspired cuisine. Very, very approachable, but also very elegantly done. You know, approachable with a touch of class is kind of how I would describe it.
Perfect. Again, we get Momocho, Succotash, and Empire State South. Great choices. Again, Adam, we're going to wrap it up here. Have a great weekend.
You do the same. Thank you very much, Chris.
See you guys next week.